Hi there, guys. I'm Danny Flexen from SecondsOut, and he is Fuad Abdul-Aziz from Behind the Gloves. And Fuad, I've got to say, something's different about you, but I just can't put my finger on it. Is it your hair?
I don't know, mate. Basically, I can only see with one eye today. I don't really know what's going on.
Is someone giving you a dig?
I think so, mate. Yeah, and my skin feels a bit weird. I think I'm lighter skinned than usual as well. I'm not this. I don't know what's gone off.
You're showing a lot more charisma than usual as well. I'm quite impressed. I think whatever you've done, I think it's a keeper.
All right, thank you, mate. Well, I'm very happy to be here. I bought this new Yankee cap. All right, stop. We'll stop with the BS. Guys, I am back in the Bazillion for another episode of Chat Shiz Get Banged. That's exactly what I was just doing there, chatting shiz. But I won't be getting banged because Danny, we know what happened the last time we met.
This is like when Kane, the wrestler, took his mask off, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's even worse." It's like, get the bareback, please. Oh, I can't believe I just said bareback. What a start!
Great start.
And last time we met, I got a bit bashed up in body sparring, but not by you, by your friends. You got your posse to gang up on me. Basically, is what happened.
Yo, you know those body shots hurt, boy. I had you backed up, boy. You didn't want the smoke.
I always want the smoke. I'm here for the smoke. But while we're talking about smoke, let's go over some of the big stories of the week, and let's start with Big Pharma, something we don't normally talk about in boxing-related programming. Tyson Fury. Apparently, there was going to be another court case, or UCAD were reinvestigating. And now the farmer at the centre of all this controversy has come out and said he's not taking it any further. He's no longer working with UCAD. Tyson Fury can once again go about his business unhindered by contention and speculation. What did you make of that?
It's a hard one to figure out, isn't it? Because from a neutral fan's point of like an opinion, like first of all, when you're that big of a superstar, you will always have people trying to come at your back, right? They always want to see your downfall. And with someone like Tyson Fury, or someone at the top of any sport, really, but someone like Tyson Fury who's so outspoken, who's been in trouble before, they're gonna... What's with the little waddle, mate? What's going off there?
Just a little head movement, just practicing. You're taking shots, I thought I'd better avoid. You carry on.
Danny boy, you don't want that smoke. Anyway, yeah, so they'll always want to come for you. But I don't see why a random farmer would want to come for Fury. Who's, like, in the beginning anyway, who paid him to do this, or is it real? It just sticks in your mind. It doesn't really leave a good sort of image in your head, does it? So, but then now he's not taking it any further. Again, it's just weird. I don't really know what to think of it, Danny. What was your reaction when you saw it?
I like the way you say a random farmer. Like, there could be, like, a famous farmer out there or something. Like, who's the most famous farmer? Tevin Farmer. That's the only...
You know, when we titled it Fury versus Farmer, for a second I had to think, I was like, what? I was like, when did Tevin Farmer get the Fury fight?
I could have put, like, Fury Red Herring, but that would have caused similar problems, I'd imagine. Yeah, I think it's just something over nothing, something that got a lot of attention. But what really strikes me is that it seems like certain publications have got a real agenda to bury Tyson Fury. It just seems like they saw this thing from the farmer. There wasn't really much evidence to support it in the first place. And they've just gripped onto it as like yet another stick to beat Tyson Fury. Don't get me wrong. You know, I'm a big fan of Fury and everyone knows that. But I don't think he's perfect. And I think he has done a lot of things that are wrong or made mistakes. I just don't think that was particularly one of them that, you know, you could take what the farmer said as gospel. It's not the smoking gun that a lot of his detractors hoped it was. But yeah, something and nothing. What interested me far more this week, and you'll probably know that if you've been glued to SecondsOut, is the breakup between Mark Tibbs and Dillian Whyte. Something that came, for me, out of the blue. Didn't expect it at all, especially going into such a important fight. Sky Sports box office headliner for Wyatt against Alexander Povetkin. They've been together since 2015, so around 5 years now. Yeah. I think Jonathan Banks came in for Chris Oko initially, then he departed, and Tibbs came in after the Anthony Joshua fight. And just a 5-year relationship just gone. And and no one's really talking much about it. Did it take you by surprise?
Yeah, 100%. I was like, I was actually really surprised. Like, I'm not exaggerating it when I say it because, Mark Tibbs is an excellent coach. Not only as a boxing coach from what we've seen in terms of like the little glimpses we've seen whenever we've gone, if we've ever done like a Dillian Whyte media day and even through video, you can see the level of intelligence the man has as a boxing trainer. But more importantly, he carries this aura of like almost, a father figure in terms of, he's an experienced man. I feel like he's been in the game long enough to advise Dillian the right way. And I didn't see anything wrong with their relationship. Also, the way that Dillian improved over the years is crazy. I keep saying it because you watch any of Dillian's old fights to now, it's incredible how much he's developed into this boxer almost. He's obviously still, goes for that knockout, but his ability to box around a lot more, use the jab. You got to give Mark Tibbs the credit for that because, he installed that in Dillian Whyte. So, yeah, it came a massive shock to me. It's one of those things now as well with everything that's gone off after, with the interview with Mark Tibbs is done and, all the drama that's gone off after. You've got to think there's got to be more to this because it can't be just Dillian saying, all right, I need a new, I just need a new setup. Well, I mean, it could be, but I feel like it's more than that. It's got to be, there's certain things we don't know about in this situation probably.
So we've got a Twitter question about Whyte, and we'll come to that in a minute. But before we do, I want to take this opportunity to explain why we removed the video interview we did with Mark Tibbs earlier this week. And basically, I think I've mentioned this on social media already, but we spoke to members of Whyte's team and were just informed that they had real issues with some of the things Mark Tibbs said. And when we went back over it, the basic truth is we couldn't verify all of the statements that Mark Tibbs made, particularly the ones that might be considered defamatory. Now, normally, we wouldn't need to go back and research everything everyone says in a video. They seem like straightforward facts. But when someone comes forward and puts forward a different version or an opposite version, then we need to look into it. So we took the Mark Tibbs video down. We're going to edit it and remove the potentially problematic clips from it and then put it back up with the stuff that we can clear. It's not ideal, and I know a lot of people are upset about it, but these things happen, and we're being upfront about it. I think it happens a lot more than people out there realise, and it's just no one really draws attention to it when people are asking for stuff to either be removed or edited. But they're well within their rights to do that. If there's stuff that they consider to be untruthful and that they think it paints their client in a bad light, then that's fair enough. And if we can't verify what we put out, then we can't put it out. It's as simple as that. So let's go to the Twitter question from @choppy_cookie. He says, do you think Whyte...
Nothing to say about his name? You always seems to come up people's name. So have you got anything to say about Choppy Cookie?
Just makes me hungry, basically. But most things do, to be fair. Do you think Whyte has been treated unfairly, or do you think he's brought... And this isn't specifically about the Tibbs situation. This is generally with his wait for a title shot, I think. Or do you think he's brought it on himself with his hardball negotiating tactics?
A bit of both. First of all, the WBC situation, you've got to separate the WBC situation to the other situation with the Anthony Joshua, because the Anthony Joshua one, we know that it's a difficult situation because if you're gonna have the biggest fight of your career, like we mentioned this last week with Billy Joe Saunders, then you definitely want to make sure that you're getting enough money. However, when you didn't take the fight against Pulev, was that final eliminator, was it?
Pulev was, Fury stepped in and took it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we mentioned this a few weeks ago, I think. Yeah. You have to kind of, he has to take responsibility for that. But that doesn't matter, man. The guy's still been waiting for how many days? I don't know. I don't care anymore because it's just annoying.
Goes up
I care for him, but I'm sure he doesn't even care because it's just annoying and frustrating every time you think about it. So, I of course, there's parts where he could have helped himself, but majority of this whole argument is, just give the man a title shot, make it solid, and give him the title shot.
What do you think about the Povetkin fight now? Do you think it's a more dangerous assignment because of splitting with Tibbs, however long before? Because he's got Xavier Miller, who's worked with Whyte for a long time. It's not like they're strangers to each other. He's been a head coach for other fighters. He's a head coach at Neasden Amateur Boxing Club, IQ Boxing as well. So he's very experienced in the sport. and they obviously have a great relationship, but just not having the main man in the corner that you're used to for the last 5 years, surely that will have some impact.
No, I don't think so, because, of course, like I mentioned, I said, Tibbs has helped him a lot and developed him. And I know Dillian knows that himself. You don't have to tell him he's a grown man. And that leads me to what I'm about to say next. Dillian's a grown man. He's a grown professional. He's not a young professional. He's been through the trenches. He's been the away fighter. He's fought on small shows. He's fought against, a British champion, the next heavyweight champion of the world, which was Anthony Joshua. And he's been there, done it in so many situations. The Joseph Parker fight, he's taken it on, he didn't have to take that fight. He took it against a former world champion. He knocked the former world champion down, came back from a crazy last round, took another very tough fight against Rivas, who's an unknown opposition in terms of the casual public. But, that was a very tough fight for him to take, and he took it. Like, the man's got balls. Like, let's face the facts. He's got balls. So it doesn't matter that, like I said, it's obviously sad to see them part ways. But, Xavier Miller is meant to be a really good coach. I don't know much about him. I know he has, the IQ boxing stuff. I've seen stuff. But from guiding
you
a
obviously
professional
watched
boxer.
my interview with him earlier this week as well. I know you did, so.
Yeah, of course. I was intensively
Right.
listening to it, in bed, warm my food and everything. We were just
Sending you to sleep. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, of course. But no. But finishing off the point, Dillian Whyte's a grown man. He's a grown professional, and it really shouldn't affect him in this fight at all. And let's be honest, it's not the hardest fight he's had to date, because Povetkin, of course, a dangerous opponent, but he's older now, and Dillian's mature enough to take that fight seriously. He's not a baby. He doesn't need a dad in the corner.
Fair enough. Let's move to more positive stuff from this week, or last week rather. And we know now boxing is back in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Warren, never count him out. First promoter to bring boxing back on Friday night. BT Sport, obviously from BT Studios in Stratford, which is why there were no press there. And Frank Warren himself wasn't there because they only allow 65 people into the studios maximum. So
Really?
Frank,
65?
apparently, yeah.
Were you there at the WWE night?
No, I was supposed to go and I can't remember what went wrong, but yeah, I didn't end up
I'm
going.
pretty sure there was more than 65 people in there that day.
Maybe
was
it's for specifically
packed.
for a live event or something, I don't know.
Maybe.
That's what I was told. Hey, shoot me. Sources, I'm doing Mike Coppinger. Sources told Seconds Out that only 65 people were allowed. Maybe Frank just felt like having a night off. I don't know. But apparently he couldn't go and see his own show. And he'll regret taking a night off, I think, because the main event particularly was engrossing. Really good fight between Brad Foster and James Beats Jr. And Foster, at only 22 years of age, now has the Lonsdale belt for keeps, which is pretty impressive. The rest of the card was a bit one-sided in favour of the house fighters, but it's the first one. The next few Frank Warren cards coming out over the summer look like they're going to be more competitive. And I think the fight camp ones for Matchroom will be too. But we got a question, so I'm going to throw this one to you from at Big Right Hook. I think they submitted one last week as well, our friends over there. What are the pros and cons of fake crowd noise at boxing, and what would you like?
Well, as in on TV?
Yeah.
I didn't, they added the fake crowd noise into the BT fight at one point, didn't they?
It was intermittent, yeah. Some fights they did, some fights they didn't.
I felt like I heard a little bit of it, but I didn't really catch it. I couldn't tell. You know what? God willing, we're going to get back to normal boxing and normal crowds. But for now, let's just enjoy the let's enjoy the sound effects,
They've got whips in the ring now.
That was whips, but that was like Hamza Shiraz's left hook whip. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
But no, listen. It's pretty interesting just to hear the sound of the shots, because now you know what shots are actually landing properly. Because when you're at a fight or when you're watching a fight, you sometimes can't tell if something's landed properly or not. And it's going to be annoying if a fake artificial sound covers that up. But also, you get to hear the corners as well, which is great.
Yeah, I agree. Crowd noise, right? For football, I can't watch football without the fake crowd noise. I never watch it just with a natural sound. I hate it. But for boxing, I don't think it really works, the artificial noise. And I think what they could have done, I said this on the vlog this week as well, they could have put a number of people, obviously BT restrictions, if it is 65, makes this more difficult, but they could have put people connected to the promotion, younger fighters who weren't on the show, that kind of thing, in the audience, socially distanced, and had them create a bit of noise, because then at least it's not artificial, it's a bit more authentic. But maybe going forward, maybe that's something Matchroom are considering for the back garden. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because the back garden obviously is a bit more spaced out than the studio. Thinking surely there'll be a bit more space, so that could be interesting. But hey, actually sticking on this point, what they could have done is they could have had it at the BT Sport. Actually, they don't have a car park, do they? But at the car park, if there is one,
they have like an outside area. Don't they?
But did you see what they did in Germany?
Cricket on the monitor outside. I've seen that before. They could have had it there.
See what they did in Germany?
No, what was that?
Oh my God, I can't believe you've not seen it. I've got to show you. So in Germany, they set up. It was a professional boxing, event, and they set up the whole ring and everything. And look at this. They had. Oh, I can't show you. Hold on, where is it? They had the. My phone won't show you because it's on the thing, but I'm gonna send it to you on WhatsApp and you can have a look right now. It's basically they had all the cars lined up for the fight, so people came with their cars lined up and watched the whole fight. I want to send it to you really quick right now, Danny, where you are. But yeah, that's what do you think of that? Imagine that in England, that'd be class.
I'd like that. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see any kind of new concepts. I quite like the idea of. They're having it a bit tougher over in the US, though, at the moment, particularly with the testing and people dropping out. We had the situation with Michaela Mayer where she was positive, then negative a few days later, and is now going to be on a card quite soon. But this week, we've seen tomorrow night, I think it was scheduled, wasn't it? Jonathan Fernando challenging Jamel Herring. And Herring is out after previously testing positive for COVID-19. He then tested negative, and then he's tested positive again. and he's out of the fight. It's just bizarre, isn't it?
That kind of goes to show you that you can catch it twice. You can't become immune to it, as some people are saying.
Either that, or one of the tests was a false positive, either the first one or the second one.
It'll be interesting, actually, that one. But yeah, it's really sad because it's their jobs, man. At the end of the day, these guys, live and breathe the sport. Jamel Herring earned his way up to a world title, inspirational story. Crying when he won the world title. A real rocky story in terms of a boxer.
Like you're about to cry. Are you welling up over
I am. I'm crying a little bit. I'm joking. No, it is sad, man. It is sad. Like we get the freedom of still doing our job one way or another, and these guys, in all fairness, work a lot more harder than us with their bodies and put themselves through paces. So it's sad not to see them get their payday for something they really can't help.
Someone on the live stream has said he believes the reason Frank Warren wasn't there was because of his age. That may have been a contributing factor, but all I can really say to that is sources. Sources tell me. Sources tell me there was too many people. And Frank said himself when I interviewed him that he wasn't sure if he'd be able to go because the priority had to be given to the people who are actually working directly on the show.
It makes sense. Of course, you have to give priorities to the people who are actually running the show in terms of broadcasting, referees, doctors, corners, fighters. And if you want to bring that argument of Warren's age, okay, and what? It's a fair point.
Frank's not old. Look at Bob Arum.
No, I'm not saying he's old. I'm just saying if he wants to be safe with his age, you gotta respect it. So it is what it is.
It is what it is.
He's healthy, by the way. In my opinion, he's a healthy geezer. He looks like a healthy geezer. His work rate is. No, I'm just saying.
You think he's an old podger and should retire? We get it. He won't like it.
Danny, I never said that.
As Fuad from
I'm protecting the man. I never said
that. Putting words in Jamel. All right, we've got a question from Twitter. Eggy Phil. What can you even say? These people just make it too easy. Eggy Phil. What's your thoughts on Chenko versus Charlo? Thoughts on Chenko versus Charlo? The Revian Chenko, not Lomachenko.
I was like, I couldn't figure that one out. I was like, isn't it Derevyanchenko? And how did I not put that together? That's a good fight. Derevyanchenko is a beast, man. I'm a fan of Derevyanchenko. The first time I really watched him fight was against Danny Jacobs, and I was impressed straight away. That's the first time I watched Danny Jacobs live, and as in like I was out in New York for it, and I was like, all right, I'm excited to see Danny. But Derevyanchenko, he bought it. He did. He bought it to him. And then obviously we've seen what he did against Golovkin. Obviously the argument of if Golovkin's still old, but hey, still a fighter, still one of the best of this era. And, he handled his own. Some say he won the fight. Charlo's in for a run for his money if he gets in there. He really is.
Do you think he made the right decision then, Chenko taking on Charlo for probably a bit less money than fighting Canelo, but with a much better chance of winning, in theory?
I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know with this one. What do you think?
I think so, yeah. I mean, unless the money was like twice as much, which given the current circumstances probably wasn't, and I reckon he's still getting well compensated. He gets to fight in his natural weight class at middleweight rather than going up to super middle. And Canelo's one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And I think Chenko would have pushed him, definitely. But I think he'll feel that Charlo's a more winnable fight.
Yeah, true. As well with the whole situation and stuff, maybe he can, if he does end up fighting Canelo one day, if he moves up in weight or whatever, it could be a big fight, a bigger fight if he gets, wins over Charlo and then someone else, good respectable names, and it's a big fight against Canelo. So yeah, I guess that does make sense. But then again, we just always come back to the argument as, you never know if you're going to get that fight. You get a fight offered to you, take it.
The thing that gets me with Chenko though, Ryan, he's a quality fighter, there's no doubt about it. But I have a kind of sneaking suspicion or concern more than a suspicion in that he could be one of those nearly men. He could be one of those guys that are always going to push the elite fighters to the limit but never quite get the win over them.
Yeah, true.
Against Jacobs, against Golovkin. I know some people said that he beat Golovkin. I didn't think he did, but close fight. Will he be able to get over the line against Charlo? And if he does, he could go to a whole new level because he's it will give him a lot of confidence to finally get that win over a top fighter.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with your statement. He does. You do get that sense of him, don't you? Like he might just be the. I don't want to disrespect him, but like the gatekeeper of like the elite level fighters.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is as well, right? So now this leaves Canelo still waiting for an opponent for September. The guy that apparently everyone wants to fight, guaranteed huge riches beyond your wildest imagination, is still waiting for an opponent.
Yeah.
Who's it going to be? And we had a question on this actually from @CraigMaximilio. What Brit? He means which Brit? Which Brit has the best shot in beating Canelo? How do you think Eubank would do, especially now he has Roy Jones at his side? That's the sigh of someone who doesn't want to shit all over Chris Eubank's dreams.
No, it's not that. Hey, I've not seen Chris Eubank fight for a while, to be honest. I didn't even watch his last fight because we were in Saudi. I never got. And he wasn't even a fight. No, the last fight was the one in New York in December.
Oh yeah, that only lasted like a round and a bit.
Yeah. So I don't know how much he's improved. So I'm not going to bring a fighter down because they do a lot more than me. But from the past fights, from the Groves fight, from all those fights. Canelo's one of the greatest fighters to step into the ring. He's one of the greats of this era, and he will go down as one of the greats in the future. 20 years from now, we'll be talking about Canelo Alvarez and how great he was back in his day. So it's hard for me to give Chris the upper hand. But I'm sure he's been working. He's always grafting. He's one of people talk a lot about Chris, but the thing is he's always in the gym. He's always training. He's always worked to improve. He's always had that mindset. And whatever your opinion is on him, you can't disagree with that. So it'd be great as a Brit to see him do good for sure. But I just want to see some. As Uncle T says, I want to see something. Show me something.
Good old Uncle T. Which Brit was the question? And I guess we'd have to include Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank Jr. and John Ryder. Out of those four...
I want to see John. Give John the shot.
No, not who do you want to see. Who's got the best chance of defeating Canelo?
I
want to see John too, but who's got the best chance of defeating Canelo out of those four Brits?
Name them again. John Ryder, Chris Eubank,
Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders.
Billy Joe Saunders, man. It's got to be Billy Joe.
Make your case. Come on.
It's got to be Billy Joe because... awkward southpaw. It's plain boxing here. Awkward southpaw. When he turns up, he turns up like he no stone unturned. And I just want to see Billy back in the ring, man. I really do. I really want to see Billy back in the ring, and it's one of those things that's irritating me because I was so annoyed when the May 2nd date fell through. I genuinely believe Billy Joe Saunders is the most awkward style for Canelo. Callum Smith can, he's got the ability to give him problems, but if you're talking about the way Canelo fights against taller fighters, he goes for the body and especially coming off Callum's last performance against John Ryder, you kind of have to, you know, if we're gonna weigh up Callum Smith versus Billy Joe, who would do against Canelo, who would do better against Canelo, you have to give
look at Billy Joe's last performance. That was pretty poor by his standards.
Yeah, but then again, there was it's hard to tell because people always have points around their last performances. Billy Joe, he was ill. Callum Smith, you know, it's just there's so much. The other two, hey, I'd love to see John Ryder get that fight because he gave Callum Smith a hell of a fight, and it's an awkward one. He's a smaller fighter. You know, he's a tough guy. You know, and he's changed over the last few years. His improvements have been very eye-catching. The way he dealt with was it Bill Akaway? Was it a few years?
Akaway,
yeah, that was impressive. So hey, you know. Fairy tales in boxing, man. We've seen him before. The unknown small built guy, Andy Ruiz or John Ryder in this situation, can cause an upset.
Jesus, comparing John Ryder to Andy Ruiz. Well, thank you for that.
What about you?
I'd same as you that I'd like to see Ryder get it, but I think in terms of who gives Canelo the most problems, has the best chance of winning, I think it's Callum Smith. I think Billy Joe Saunders is incredibly talented. We know Canelo can struggle with southpaw movers. But I think Billy Joe Saunders is a natural middleweight and is at his best at middleweight. I think up at super middle, I think it'd be a tougher fight for him against Canelo, and staying away from him. And Canelo cuts the ring off quite well these days. Staying away from him for 12 rounds at super middle, big, strong guy, I think it'd be quite tough for him. And Callum Smith has his flaws and didn't look great against Ryder, but he is a good body puncher, which I think is interesting because he'll have the reach over Canelo. And he's a good counter puncher. And Canelo's not like Ryder. Ryder was just consistent pressure, whereas obviously I'm not saying Ryder's better than Canelo, but stylistically they're very different. I think Canelo fights in spurts, and I think that will suit Callum Smith better. He'll be able to sit back behind his jab. He's a huge super middleweight as well. He won't be outsized in there by Canelo. So I just think style-wise, he's the tougher challenge for Canelo.
Yeah. Someone said Billy hasn't got a chance. Billy hasn't got a hope in hell against Canelo. Will get knocked out in round 4.
Get off the fence. Get off the fence. Tell us how you really feel. Jesus.
What else have we got here? Boxing is dead, and the politics and greed from fighters, promoters, and networks is the cause.
Do you know why boxing isn't dead, Mr. Anonymous commenter? Because you're watching Chat Shiz get banged.
The greatest show on earth.
Why would you even tune in? Come on.
The greatest show on earth.
Soul of boxing.
Right now.
But yeah, politics. Yeah, it hasn't been a great year for boxing. I think with the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent lockdown, not having live boxing for so long, it brings a lot of other stuff to the fore because people haven't got anything to talk about or write about. So a lot of the controversial stuff, the boxing politics and everything else, becomes more prominent in a vacuum. I think once boxing's back and high level boxing's back every weekend, that will kind of ebb away a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I've kind of been drained and like physically just tired because I miss like actual boxing. Thanks, mate. But also because, you know, I'm sure you feel somewhat the same in terms of what we're talking about now. What is the news? What's the next news? Oh, date change to October. Like, oh, he doesn't want the fight. Like, there's nothing going on. It's so slow right now, and it's actually sad. And that is exactly what you said. I agree with you. Some of this news that's coming out, some of these politic things that are coming out in boxing are getting a lot more coverage than they usually would. Of course, we have to cover them when it's a regular day, but it's a bit annoying even for someone who has to cover it that it's the main focal point at the moment.
I think the plus side is it's a huge benefit for the lower level boxers who haven't got the biggest profile. They're going to get more chance to go on shows because of travel restrictions here in the UK. But not only that, because there's a vacuum of quality boxing news and content, all the video channels, newspapers, whatever, are lining up to interview people they wouldn't normally give the time of day to, I think, particularly the bigger outlets that would normally only concentrate on the big stars that cater more to a casual audience. So it's a great opportunity for fighters on the lower, like the undercard fighters, to build their profiles. So if anything positive comes out of this, it's that. Like, I've seen so many e-pressers or even some of the video channels doing their own head-to-head presser type videos with guys who are going to fight each other. And normally they wouldn't get their own specific presser, the likes of, Clay Congo and people like that. That's on an undercard of a pay-per-view, and it's a great fight. But it wouldn't normally get its own head-to-head kind of build-up. I think that's really good. I think these guys deserve it, and they're making the most of their opportunities.
For sure. It's if there's one thing that's positive that's come out of it, it's definitely that. So the casual fan, if you're watching and you're also feeling drained, inspire your thoughts with the younger fighters and the fresher fighters coming through who are getting the coverage, because they don't usually get it, and it's sad. So good on them.
Well, we've had a question from Noel Mitchell, and Noel, you're going to get a bit of a rocket, mate, because he says, why was the Mark Tibbs video removed? Well, Noel Mitchell, my answer to you is, tune in from 6 p.m. Don't dive in later on. Tune in from when we go live, and you would have already had the answer to your question. I don't know if you'd like the answer, but at least you know where it was. So I'm not going to repeat myself. You're going to have to wait until we're finished and the video's up on the channels, and then you can have a look for yourself. But yeah, I refer the honourable gentleman to my previous answer, to quote our Prime Minister. Joseph THFC81. Well, no one's going to guess his password, I guess. Boxing needs to do a lot more. The UFC, I know you want to talk about this. The UFC getting 1.3 million PPV buys proves this. Oh, it's just disappeared. What have I must have pressed something. But yeah, just talk to us about that. Why, you're a UFC fan, certainly more than me. How did they manage to get, in this current climate, 1.3 million pay-per-view viewers?
Because they had an amazing card on every single... It's not hard. Think about it, right? They had Jose Aldo, who's one of the greatest featherweights of all time. They had Max Holloway, who's got a really good name for himself, trying to earn back his title against the new champion in Volkanov, the rematch. And then they had this super main event, but by the way, which was very anticlimactic, against from Usman and the guy who's on a roll in Masvidal. Of course, he's going to get a lot of buys, and especially for fight fans. You're gonna tune in. I mean, I tuned in because I'm a fan, but if I was just a regular fan, I would have probably tuned in anyway. That's not to say, by the way, that I am going to stick to my words, just in case anyone sees this. I did make a tweet and I said I was so bored by the whole card. I actually kind of wish I went to sleep. I'm not going to lie, because hey, great performances from Max Holloway. I thought he won. Jose Aldo lost. It was a sad ending. Which other one? There was another fight as well. And the main event, yes, Usman was dominant, and he did it his way. What we say, quote unquote, boring. He did a professional thing. He doesn't care about the viewing numbers or us, which
boring. Is he fell asleep. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I know they put on good performances, but from a casual point of view, it wasn't as entertaining as you'd want it to be, I think.
Thunder Road on our live stream has just worked his way onto my shit list by bailing out Noel Mitchell. Make him watch the whole video, Thunder Road. He doesn't get to know why we removed the Mark Tibbs video if he doesn't tune in on time.
Hey, I've got a good one here.
Go on.
Billy Joe is, to this day, unproven against the top boys. Smith or Andrade will be his biggest fights. That's even if they ever happen. And Billy Joe isn't the same at super middle.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said that he's not as good at super middle. I think him against Callum Smith's still a really good fight, but size might matter in that one. Andrade was never a fight I liked for Billy Joe, because I thought he's someone who's got similar skills and style, but has the height and reach advantage to go with it. So I always thought, two counter punchers campaigning who should lead off. I always thought that was a difficult stylistic matchup for Saunders. But I think we could still see that one. I think Callum Smith Saunders looks less and less likely as time goes on.
Yeah, Andrade might be if everything fixes itself by the end of the year. Billy Joe did mention that he wants to fight Andrade over, the Canelo fight now. So we'll see, hopefully.
Maxwell says, what do you think of Matchroom PPV with Whyte? I'm assuming he means gets Povetkin. What numbers do you think it could do? Oh, he's getting sleepy again, guys.
No, I'm not. Sorry, I've had a very long day. I've had a very long day. Right, Matchroom pay-per-view with Dillian Whyte. First of all, I just want to know how much is it actually going to cost. That's going to be the interesting point, because we've got 5-6 fights on it. Can't be 20 quid, right. Surely not. In terms of buys, what would you say? 200,000 maybe?
I don't know. I don't know. I think price point's important, but I think you saying, oh, it can't be 20 quid. I think it can be. Whether it should be or not is another matter, but I think it can be. I'd be surprised if they cut it by much. Maybe 49.5, I suppose. But
yeah.
I didn't think it was pay-per-view worthy last week when we talked about it, but now they've added Taylor against Pursoon 2, which I think is a good fight. I still think it's maybe one real good fight short of being normal pay-per-view quality. But
are they adding one more fight onto it? I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be like a European or better level fight. I think it will just be another. Because at this notice, who's going to take a really big fight? But we shall see. But yeah, I don't know. 200,000 is very low. It'd be like the worst pay-per-view in many, many years, wouldn't it, for Sky, I guess? But
yeah, I know. But I'm just thinking, like, I don't know. It depends. I think it depends as well, though. It depends if people are actually interested to choose. It may be a bit, maybe more. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I really don't. Pay-per-view numbers are always confusing to me. I'll be honest with you.
We had a number of people asking why you kidnapped/borrowed Tyann Booth's teddy bear at the start of the show. Any comment to make in your defence?
I'm not even gonna comment on that, to be honest. I'm not even gonna. This is my boy. If y'all don't know, this is my boy. Right here, he actually fought for the heavyweight championship of the world against Mike Tyson behind closed doors, but not many people know about it. That's why he's lost his eye. But he's actually a nice geezer, to be honest.
Fuad will be co-presenting next week, accompanied by a bottle of Echo Falls.
Kyo.
Just stealing Tyann Booth's gimmick.
Kyo. Yeah, I was just seeing if you've got any more comments, but. Someone just said, mark my words.
Guerrero says, what do you think of 3 out of 5 of Dillian's last opponents, counting Povetkin, being 40-odd years old? Well, as we've already discovered, Fuad's ageist. He doesn't like old people, as we found out earlier in the show, accusing Frank Whyte of being 85 or something, I think he said.
I never said that. 3 or 4... How old is Marius Watch?
Yeah, I think he's pretty old, isn't he? Rivas is obviously young.
Yeah. No, he's like, well, yeah, he's like 30 something, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's not 40 odd.
Parker's not 40.
I don't know, 3 out of 5. Whoever, process of elimination, who were the other 3?
That's what I'm trying to put together, mate.
Chisora.
Chisora's
not 40 odd though, is he? Chisora's late 30s, isn't he? I don't know. Anyway, what do you think of him fighting aging opponents, I guess is the theme?
This is just me trying to look. He's fighting good opponents. He's fought good opponents. Whatever, they're still around. You know, Chisora. Okay, if you want to talk about it, Povetkin's still around, and he's still talked about to be a danger. Let him fight him. It's a good fight. I'm not complaining. Chisora, he's somehow improved with age. As of late, we've seen him do better, have better performances. Not complaining. Marius Watch, he took that fight as sort of almost like a comeback fight at the time. He wasn't fit. And he was just like, all right, whichever opponent. So he's not fighting old opponents. He's just fighting whoever's, there.
Ruben Guerrero says the 3 he was referring to were Lucas Brown, Marius Vac, and Alexander Povetkin. Is Brown in his last 5 opponents, if you include Povetkin? I'm not sure. I think he doesn't make the cut, but I haven't got a box rec in front of me, so we'll take his word for it. Andrew Lyon says, can we have a Jarrell Miller update with Top Tank? I think you need to stay away from any sort of tanks, to be honest, but... yeah, Jarrell Miller update with Top Rank. Yeah, I mean, Top Rank said Bob Arum said. I mean, Bob Arum famously, I should preempt this by saying Bob Arum preset it by saying Bob Arum famously said, I was lying yesterday, I was lying, today I was telling the truth. So at the moment, at least, Bob Arum is saying that Jarrell Miller will never fight again on a Top Rank show on ESPN, which is fair enough. But we would need all the promoters. All the major promoters worldwide to agree with him before it becomes effectively a lifetime ban, which is what a lot of people would like to see.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, I think we're just about at that point where we have to end it. But what I'd like to do before we go is say, now we've had the Matchroom Fight Camp shows announced, Frank Warren's tranche of summer shows announced, and MTK's 3 shows announced. Pick out a fighter on the undercard of any of those shows that people should watch out for. Someone who's maybe below the radar that they haven't had the chance to see before.
Ooh, can I use the one that's just gone?
You can use whoever you want as long as they're on one of the undercards.
All right. Well, as of now, I got to speak for Hamza Shiraz. I mean, my God, is this guy good? Like he's 20, 21. He's extremely talented, very mature outside the ring as well. You know, he's not got a kiddie personality. He's, you know, straight to the point, and he carries himself well. So I'm excited, man. I for once, like, I'm not even joking. Like, with prospects, it's hard to tell. Like, of course they're gonna look good in the ring, but Hamza's just shown, you know, even this opponent that he fought recently, he was 12-1. Yeah, Paul Keane, Scottish champion, if I'm correct, wasn't he? And also kickboxed for a very long time. So he's a proven fighter and a durable fighter. And Hamza got him out of there. Last fight against in Birmingham against who's it? What's his name now?
Ryan Kelly, is it?
Ryan Kelly, I think it was. Yeah, got him out of there as well. And everything about him, from his weight class to his actual physique, because he's a big guy, is gonna be very interesting, man. I really do believe in Hamza.
I believe in Hamza too. I went on about him loads on the vlog, so I won't go into too much detail. But yeah, really, really hot prospect. I'm going to go with Louis Lin. Excellent amateur, really good fighter. Started off training under Kevin Mitchell, now at Peacock under Martin Bowers, thriving team down there. I interviewed Chris Bourke earlier today, who's another hot prospect, and he'll be fighting for the Southern Area title during the summer. He said, out of everyone he's sparred, and that includes Regis Prograis, Isaac Dogbay, and people of that nature, so world champions, he said Louis Lin's right up there. He said he's always sharp, he's always in the gym, never leaves you alone, and really, really skillful as well. And just knowing Louis and speaking to him on a semi-regular basis, he's just a really, really nice guy with a great attitude and a great approach. Very positive guy, like a complete opposite of me, really. And yeah, I love him for that as well. So definitely check him out if you get the chance. He's exciting to watch fast.
I've been in contact with Louis since he was in his amateur days. And let me tell you one thing. Out of those fighters, I can't speak for a lot of them, but what I do know about Louis is, oh my God, does he work hard? Like, does he just work hard? You know, and he had a really crappy start to the pros with everything going off behind the scenes that, you know, I'm not going to speak for him, but he knows what happened. And he held his own and, you know, got through it for a young fighter to deal with everything that he dealt with. He showed real
strength of character there.
Very strong character. And on top of that, you know, he's a very talented geezer. He's sharp. He's always in his bedroom doing random shadow boxing workouts, doing long runs, you know, and he's one that will have a good story, hopefully, should he stay on the path, which I believe he will.
But comments here from Jessica, right? So first she says, any update on Canelo fighting in September? So Jessica, I'm going to say the same to you as I said earlier. just going to wind me up even more. Tune in from 6 p.m. when the live show kicks off, because we've already discussed Canelo. But then she goes on to say, Seconds Out has the best videos. So I'm not going to castigate her too much, to be fair. You're forgiven, Jessica. But you have to watch the show back to find out about Canelo and what we said about him. But yes, we do have the best videos.
Hold on a second. Jessica, come on. BTG gang out here. We're still working. All right. Show us some love. All right, Seconds Out. I know you're great. All those subscribers, but we working, we coming. Don't worry.
BTG are like Seconds Out's little bro. Lil Bro.
Yeah,
so we're like Mayweather, and you're like Broner, basically.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that in a couple of years' time, we're gonna lose all our titles and just be under the radar a little bit.
As Tupac said, you're like little Junior Mafia clique trying to be us.
Get out of here, bro. You know we the GOAT. We're goated. We're goated.
Well, on that note, we will leave you all for this week. We will be back next Tuesday, 6 p.m. as always, from Fuad and I and the far more charismatic Bear. We will see you next Tuesday.
Bye, guys.